What do you want to be when you grow up? We all got asked that question as kids, but now we're adults, and a lot of us still don't know the answer. Welcome to Still Browsing, the podcast for grown-ups who are still figuring it out. I'm your host, Ariel, a career explorer who's navigated multiple career changes and is always on the lookout for what's next. Each week, I sit down with professionals from all kinds of industries to break down what they do, how they got there, and what their jobs are really like. Whether you're job searching, pivoting careers, or just curious about what other grown-ups do for work, you're in the right place. Let's figure it out together. Welcome or welcome back to Still Browsing. I'm so glad that you are here. In this episode, we're stepping into the rhythm of a life shaped by music. I sat down with JP, a professional saxophonist whose journey into music started in a small church and grew into a meaningful part of a multifaceted career. We talk about how he balances music with other pursuits, the lessons he's learned along the way, and what keeps him grounded and growing as a musician. If you're curious about how passion can fit into a broader path without having to choose just one thing, you'll want to hear this. Let's get into it. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So ironically enough, when I was a child, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I had an older cousin. All I knew was that he worked with kids, he delivered babies, and he was cool. To me, he was like the guy that I wanted to be exactly like. But as time progressed, I changed that. But all I knew at the time was just that, man, my cousin is super dope. He's a super great guy. And I want to be just like him when I grow up.
That's really cool. So, what do you do for work now?
So now I'm a musician, I'm a saxophonist, traveling all over. I also am a real estate agent, into a few other things, but mainly a saxophonist. I love doing that. That is my passion. So I wouldn't say it's a job.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How did you end up there?
Yeah. So there was a deacon at my church who came and played, and it was fun. It's funny because a friend of mine who, growing up, everyone thought we were twins because we were born on the same day. My mom, she was a seamstress. So she would sew our clothes. We would have matching outfits at church. We would have matching outfits whenever we would go take photos together and stuff. Everybody thought we were twins. We were born on the same day. I think it was 3 minutes apart. He was the drummer at our church. And so I wanted to do something. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do something. I didn't want to play the piano. That didn't move me. But when the deacon came and played the saxophone, I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. Now, mind you, luckily our church was small, so they were open to us playing at a young age. When I got started, I was 7. You letting a 7-year-old play the drums, that's pretty commendable. He kind of had that on lock. I didn't want to be like him because we're the same age. I don't want to be like you, man. I don't want to feel like a copycat. And so once I saw that, it was a wrap for me. I knew I wanted to play the saxophone. The way he moved people, the way he was able to play, and the the way he played and the style in which he played, I really enjoyed.
So, then the deacon taught you how to read music and all of that stuff? They taught you in church?
So he started me out.
Okay.
So what happened was my mom told him, said, hey, Mr. Pritchett, Jashawn wants to learn how to play the saxophone. And he was like, okay, all right, cool. So he went out, found a saxophone, which I still have, and he charged my mom $20, literally $20. That was it for the saxophone. And he showed me how to hold it, how to use my embouchure to correctly put air through the horn. And so, and then he also did teach me one song before he had to end up leaving and moving to the Greensboro area. So we worked on that for a little bit of time, and then he ended up leaving. I kind of picked it back up and wanted to do more with it. And so I played my first song at church when I was like 9. But yeah, he definitely taught me how to hold it, how to blow into it, and how to do a little bit of reading. I still was writing the notes on top of on top of the sheet music or whatever. But yeah, he taught me that though for sure.
How did you get from that point To realizing that it's something you can do. You said it's kind of not like a career, but that it was something you could make money from. So, like, how do you go from that point of just kind of learning and being interested in it to it being something that can be pursued?
Yeah, so I played throughout middle school, played throughout high school, of course, but we didn't have a jazz band at my school at the time. It was just a small country school, and we didn't have that type of access and those type of resources. And so I played in the band in both middle and high school. And then once I got to college, that was kind of when I knew, okay, there's a different type of feeling when I play my horn and play for people. I'll never forget, there were two distinct instances. One of them was when I was in college and I came back. I had actually taken a break off due to an illness, but during that time frame, I was playing out more. I was getting called to play in different places. And so some of my peers, they called me because I was at Carolina at the UNC Chapel Hill. And so they called me and was like, hey, man, we want you to come play for us for this event we got going on. We want some live music. So I was like, all right, cool. Went and played. They paid us. It wasn't nothing but the electric slide. But it was the fact that my music moved people to dance.
Hmm.
That was a feeling that was kind of like the first high, I would say. Then later on again, there was a lounge, restaurant, bar that did live music in downtown Raleigh called Yancey's. So my cousin, who was the pediatrician, he basically sponsored me in getting me in there. He told the guy, said, hey man, look, I want to bring my cousin in. I think he'll be a great fit for your venue. I'll even pay for him to come. Just let him come and do his thing. And that night, to see people again, older people, not my peers, but to see older people actually enjoying my music, saying how well we sound, how well we were doing, seeing them move, seeing them dance. Then the owner, he being very intrigued and impressed and was like, hey, I'm going to get you back in. I know your cousin brought you in, but I need to know how much you charge. I'm going to get you back in. And so for me, it was more so about the feeling. It's about me chasing that adrenaline rush. It's a rush that you continue to try to hit every time you step out and you perform. And so for me, I think those two instances particularly were more so moments that I knew that my music could move people and it could bring about a feeling in people that I had never experienced in my life. So I think that was probably the time when it hit me more so than it being a monetary driven thing. Now I was getting paid for it, and
Hmm.
we had an older gentleman in the band at the time, and he was the main one who kind of was like, hey man, I like you and this is fun, but you got to pay me more. Because he had been out there, he had done things. He was a very sought after musician, and he had done tours with different artists and for different artists. And for him to come and play with me, I was humbled, and I was very appreciative of him doing that, given his musical resume. He was the guy who then kind of made me look at it from a different standpoint, and is like, yeah, this can be your passion, but hey man, your passion don't pay bills. After that love and that passion came, then he was like, yo, you need to kind of look at this alternative way as well.
So it sounds like your journey it happened very organically, and you had a lot of support around you to get you into the right spaces.
Absolutely.
What did you go to college for?
I got my undergrad and master's in mathematics.
So that's like a very organic path to take. And then you were in school for something else. So I'm wondering what a path would be as far as going into music more so like the traditional route, because you can get degrees in music and things like that. So what does that path look like if you're familiar?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert in that pathway, but there are schools, especially right here in North Carolina, that do provide great musical opportunities and great musical experiences. So last month I was even in Boston, and that's where Berkeley School of Music is, which, in my personal opinion, just my opinion, is, if anyone is familiar with Juilliard, then that to me is like the Juilliard of US. If you go to Berkeley School of Music, more than likely you can get a top industry level job, like right out of school, because they respect your background so much whenever you come from that school, because it is very rigorous and they prepare their students very well to go out into whatever career field it may be. So it could be production, it could be actual performance, it can vary. And we're talking from singers to studio engineers. The school itself has won Grammys. It definitely has an acclaim, and it does have a name for itself that is recognizable. If you're not looking to go that route, which is perfectly fine, then you can definitely go to Central. They have a great jazz program. So you might go to Central, get your undergrad. Some people do stay around to get their master's. And sometimes you gain more education, obviously, or you gain that next level of performance and understanding not only your instrument, but your craft as a whole. So you have that. You have UNCG. They have a solid jazz studies program. ECU, same thing. Duke, I think they're pretty solid as well. So right here in North Carolina, we have different schools which offer the degree pathway. Once you get that degree, then basically it's all about networking at that point. Getting out here, putting yourself out here. And the good thing now is, obviously we got what we're talking on right now, which is the internet. so
Right.
so it's like you can be sitting in your dorm room with three other people, but all of you all are dope individually. And then next thing you know, you got a band like Moonchild. You know what I'm saying? Which they are phenomenal. To your point, as you mentioned earlier, organically, and just being at the right place, right time, but also being out here and performing and getting those reps in. That's important. So those schools help you get those reps in, so that way, before you know it, some of this stuff is kind of second nature to you.
Yeah. I think that's important for any career path, even as an elementary school teacher.
Mm,
And I went to school for it, but nothing prepares you for that first day of
okay.
being in that classroom. You just have to do it over and over and over and over again before you get good at it. Um,
Right.
so that's a really good point. What would you say makes a good musician?
To me, probably you understanding yourself, understanding the band members that are around you, you being a good listener, and you being a good reader of the room. I tell some of my friends, my musician friends, all the time, you practice for yourself, you play for your audience. Some of the stuff that you practice is over your audience's musical comprehension level. So when that is the case, like those things that you, they was riff, those runs, those chords that you practice, they don't convey to your audience because they don't know what's going on and they can't understand it. And so it then to them sounds like nails scratching up against the wall or whatever. And so it's you understanding, again, as a musician, you understanding the environment that you're in. I think that is very key and very, very important, because number one, to your peers, you want to listen, that way they know that you're listening to what is going on around you. So your playing is cohesive. It's that whole one band, one sound, right?
Mhm.
Going back to that. And then you also are listening and looking and watching your audience. In some countries, it's hard to gauge them because they're so still and stoic until you finish, and then they're clapping.
Mm.
But they're more so just engulfed in what's going on, and they appreciate musicianship so much. I've seen videos where I'm looking at 5,000 people and they're literally just sitting there staring. They soaking up everything from the keyboard player to the drummer to the bass to the saxophone to the trumpet to the person that's singing. They're looking at all of it and paying attention to the whole picture. You know what I mean? But normally, if you're here in the US, then you're going to get that interaction. For me, I love someone to come to a show and give me good banter. I love it. I absolutely love it. Talk back to me, say little sly stuff or snarky stuff or funny stuff or whatever. And essentially, they'll end up being my homie for the rest of the show because now the audience is waiting to see what I'm going to say to them next every time they say something. It helps me be witty and it helps to engage the crowd and engage my audience. But there are times when you also just have to be background music, and you got to know when that is the case as well. So whether it is a situation where you have to engage your audience or the situation where you just let them do their thing and you're more so the background, you just got to know all of those nuances and understand not just your instrument, but everything else that's going around you. That includes band members and the audience.
You learned as a child, and I think a lot of people learn as a child, but how difficult is it for an adult to learn how to play an instrument if they have an interest?
So, a good friend of mine, he's wanting to learn how to play the bass. Main thing is that whenever you become an adult, your time, your time, and now he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have a kid, so he has slightly more time, but his job is also very demanding, and so with that, I would say that probably would substitute for a child and a kid because he has to be kind of on a lot of the day. When he has long days and long weekends sometimes. To answer your question, I think it just becomes tough because of the rigor of being an adult compared to being a child. All you had to do is get your homework done and bam, you go play, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, you might not have homework, but you may have to run errands. You may have to go to a grocery store, and you may have to go to an appointment, or if you do have a child or you have a spouse, you have to support them in some way, form, or fashion. So by the time you sit down, you ain't really trying to work on that instrument. That's even the case, even sometimes for me. I've gotten to a place where I'll leave my horns out and leave them put together, and I don't have to put it together. Because if I gotta take it out of the case and put it together, I'm probably not gonna practice. I'll just be intentional about taking it out of the case, putting it on the stand, leaving it, and so that way, whenever I see it, I can just grab it and play a few notes or whatever, and just get my fingers on the horn, and then put it back down and go on about my business. My biggest intention for 2025 was to be more intentional about picking up my horn, about practicing and playing it and just doing different things on the horn so that way I can just get more proficient at it and become a better player.
What does your schedule look like when you're playing?
I'll give you a couple different scenarios. All right, this upcoming Friday, I got two situations I actually have to do. So, first thing I'll do is get up. I like to go to the gym, go ahead and get that out the way in the mornings. After the gym, Friday is like my cheat day in terms of sweets. I love sweets. So I'll go get 2 donuts and a cup of coffee, smoke a cigar, eat those donuts, drink my coffee, smoke a cigar, chill, relax. Then I'm going to get on the road and go to Raleigh, and I have to play for a young lady and her partner. They're doing a picnic. So I have to play outdoors for a picnic for an hour. Yeah, something nice, something quaint, beautiful, whatnot. So I'll go do that. I will probably have a little bit of downtime. Then I have to play at Flavor Hills later on in the evening. So I'll need to get to Flavor Hills an hour before my start time to set up. So that's 7 o'clock. I get there at 7, set up. I try to just kind of chill, relax. Sometimes I already have my set list together, and sometimes I have to put it together, just depending on the vibe of the room, just depending on if I need to rotate some songs in and out because I've done Flavor Hills a few times now. And so my goal for that one is to just get there in time so I can set up and then so I can sit down and kind of listen to the songs and how they transition into one another, and then do the gig at 8, 10 o'clock. It's over with. 10:30, I've packed up, go get the truck because downtown parking is stupid. So go get my truck, and then I'm headed back to the house, hopefully by 11. From leaving my house to getting back home, it's basically a 12-hour day.
Wow. But it's like still very flexible. Obviously, you have to do a little bit of traveling, but it sounds like very flexible. You're not doing this full time, but if somebody was doing it full time, it's very flexible because you
I
have
mean,
downtime birthday.
now, and I will say this. So I know you referenced being full time and or part time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our weekdays is the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes
You
sense.
The average person's weekday is the weekday, Monday through
Right.
Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But normally, either we might have a gig, musicians might have a gig on a Thursday. Sometimes I have gigs Thursday to Sunday. That's a 4-day work week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm busting my tail essentially because, again, even if I don't have 2 gigs, I'm more than likely got 1 gig. But to travel from my house to the gig, get there an hour early, do the gig. Normally that's about 3-4 hours right there, and then travel back. Depending on the location, you're still looking at a 6 to 8 hour day. So it's still like working. Sometimes I'm putting in over 40 hours
Wow.
to complete the various gigs that I have.
Since you do a lot of different things,
Right.
how do you balance all of your hats that you wear?
I take me time, whether that be 30 minutes, whether it be an hour, whether it be 2 hours. I am big on taking that time to take a breather. I refuse to be stressed. I refuse to feel anxiety. I refuse to allow people to overstep my boundaries. So I'm big on that. I will ignore calls. If I'm having me time, then I'm not gonna answer the phone, or I'm gonna answer the phone and get off the phone very quickly because it's me time. I'm not trying to do any work. I'm not trying to talk about work. I am just gonna sit here, watch a podcast, listen to some music, watch a movie, do whatever I so please, because that is my time to do that. I'm very intentional and very big on that.
How do you rank just like balancing your personal life with it too? Because I saw you performing on Valentine's Day, for example. A
Very,
lot of that stuff comes up. People want musicians on those types of days. So, how does that work out for you in your own personal life when you're performing for everybody else?
I'll never forget this young lady that I was dating years and years and years and years ago. I would see her on Sundays, and she would let me know that everybody else gets the best version of you but me.
Mm.
Because by the time you get to me, you tired. And she ain't lying. I mean, I was gigging Friday, I was gigging Saturday, I done been to church and played Sunday morning, and now I'm just ready to eat and sleep. That's it, that's all. And she's like, but we don't go nowhere, we don't do anything together. It's just like you just come over here, fall asleep, and that's it. That's not spending quality time. And so over the years, I've tried to be intentional about being present. And it's funny because I always say that I'm a saxophonist. It's Valentine's Day. You tell me what you think. You know, for a saxophone, that's like synonymous with Christmas for Santa Claus. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Everybody on a saxophone is on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You know? So it's funny when I do get that call or when people want that date and whatnot, I do try to handle it carefully in my personal life. I do try to ask for grace. And then at the same time, I do try to make up for us missing Valentine's Day itself
Mhm.
and finding a replacement day, doing some other things, and
Well, that's good.
still trying to celebrate. And then too, I've come across situations where Valentine's Day wasn't a big deal. So if that's the case, then it's even better, right? you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just works out like that.
What would be the salary range or expectations that someone could have if they were doing it regularly like you are?
Yeah, if you're regular, and depending again on location, and yes, sometimes I do end up doing multiple gigs in a day. I would say it could be definitely above the starting salary of a teacher. I think now they've went up, so it might be 40 to 45 or something like that. Once you get to the level of which you really want it to be,
Mhm.
and you're doing the bigger events and you're not just doing private events only, and you're doing the festivals and you're doing the showcases or the different venues that cater to live music in general, you can then potentially work your way up to the 70, 80, even $90,000 range.
Wow.
You have to stay committed, and you have to stay on your grind and continue to keep yourself busy and keep yourself open to opportunities.
Can you share the pros and cons? Because there are pros and cons to every job.
Music can change people's mood.
Mhm.
People, they come to an event that I'm playing at or to a show that they may know that I'm playing, and they have an expectation. They expect me to make them feel good. They expect me to engage with them, interact with them. They expect me to put on a show. And that's probably somewhat of the con, because at the same time, when I love that I'm able to do those things, but that's also pressure, right? There's an expectation there that I don't know if I will meet it or not, because I don't know how high they've set that bar. You're not going to make everybody happy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But you have to figure out what makes most of the people happy. I may go to an event and or do a show, and people may ask, hey man, I want to hear something from Weather Report. Or Weather Report is an instrumental band. Or they might be like, well, I don't want to hear Boney James, or I want to hear Kirk Whalum or something like that. I always tell people it's hard to find. It's basically impossible to find an instrumental of an instrumental.
Um,
So you're asking me to find or to play the song from another instrumentalist. I'm not going to be able to find the backing track to assist me with that in a lot of instances. Now, of course, there's the standards and the jazz standards, and they have backing tracks for that. But what these people are asking for is just hard to come by at times. And so sometimes I do feel like, because I do want everybody to enjoy it, I do feel like, I hate I can't do that song for them. But I hope they understand the explanation. Sometimes I dismiss it and be like, whatever. And then sometimes I take that with me and internalize that. And so for me, over time, it's just been one of those things where I try to focus obviously more on the pros, which again is making sure that people are having a good time, and the ability to make sure people are having a good time, the interaction, the engagement. I've learned a lot about myself playing the saxophone and interacting with people, because I am an introvert. By nature, I am an absolute introvert. I would tell anybody JP is not the same person as Jashawn. Trust me. Jashawn wants to kick back, relax, smoke cigars, drink bourbon. That's it. That's all. JP, he got to be on. He has to engage with people. He has to smile. He has to have a pleasant disposition. I naturally do not. have a pleasant disposition. People think that I have a hard resting face. They think I'm mean. They think I look mean. They think I'm stuck up. They think all these things without knowing me, just based on how I look and how I present myself or how I come off. It's not my intention.
Mm-hmm.
Just am born like this. Like I can't help it. I don't do a lot of smiling. I'll be checking out at a register. What's wrong with you? You all right? Yes, ma'am. I'm fine. I'm fine. You sure? Well, smile then. I am smiling. you know, I hit them with that sometimes with a straight face. And so I'm just an introvert. I don't mind being by myself. Those are sometimes the pros and the cons, one and the same. Because again, you can bring that music to people and people can enjoy it. And then at the same time, they can sit back and they can have an expectation that you're not meeting. And
Mm-hmm.
that can be the con of that.
When you're going out there, do you have anxiety?
Yes, I do have nervous energy, especially if it's a new venue. Number two, especially if it's in front of kids. Let me tell you, I am more nervous in front of kids than I am any group of people. You give me old folk, I'll play in front of them all day long. I'll play at a nursing home all day long. You give me an elementary school full of kids sitting Indian style, I am scared to death. And it's just kids are honest.
They are.
Number one, they're super duper honest. But number two, if you're not doing something that they like, then you're not cool and you don't have their attention.
Yep.
So you out back, buddy. This guy playing piano, you can't play that thing. I don't know what he's doing. It sounds terrible. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? They'll say anything, you know what I mean? And so luckily, knock on wood and everything else in here, but I have yet to have a group of elementary school kids straight up roast me. But I would definitely say yes, I do get nervous in most instances. I'm not gonna say all, but definitely in most, depending on the size of the crowd. For me personally, once I get that first note out, I'm good. And I equate it to when I used to play sports in high school, especially in football. Once I hit somebody or would get hit, that would just got that out of the way. Let's go now. I'm ready to go. So on and so forth with baseball, basketball, everything I played. But yes, I definitely do get nervous energy, and I try to dim that or try to push that to the back and not let that crowd my mind and it take over and consume me.
Yeah, that makes sense. What advice would you give to a younger person who wanted to become a musician? And then what advice would you give to an adult who might want to get started?
Yeah. So for a younger person, whatever instrument you find appealing and you are choosing it, don't choose it because your parents told you that they want you to try it out. If you're given the option to choose the one you think you might like because that's the one that you might stick with. If we're talking like super young, just getting started, that's the advice for that person. If we got someone who's already kind of gotten started and they're playing and they're in high school, I would tell them try to figure out how much do you love playing your instrument. Do you love playing your instrument and you want to go to school for it? Or do you love playing your instrument and you're good at something else? And so you're going to use that, but you're still going to play your instrument. Because I mean, that's what happened with me. I learned what my passion was, but I also knew I was just good at math. And so I would just do the math. And that was easy for me. But in terms of music and me playing the saxophone, like that was my true passion. I love to do that. If we're talking about someone who is out here and they're gigging, they're doing their thing, I would just tell them to just continue to be consistent. Don't get caught up in getting too high. Don't get caught up in getting too low. Just try to remain consistent and try to continue to learn. Never think that you are above learning. I think Kirk Whalum, I heard him use a acronym one time, uh, ASTWO, always something to work on, which is the truth. You should always be growing as a musician. Your ear should always be growing. Your ear, in my opinion, should be above your skill level. So that way you're trying to keep pushing your skill level even higher. And then in terms of an adult, be intentional about carving out your time. If you're able to make a budget, you're surely able to put a calendar together where you can carve out that time for you to learn that instrument and allow that to be your release. Just stick with it and just enjoy the journey of it, because you're now at the age where you can enjoy the journey. You can understand the journey. Like as a child, they're not really enjoying the journey. They're not able to enjoy it until they look back on
Mm-hmm.
where they started or see videos of where they started and look like, man, how was that terrible? Yeah, you was. And so now they're enjoying themselves and, playing and killing it and whatnot. But in terms of an adult, I would tell them just stick with it. Just be patient, stick with it, enjoy the journey, enjoy learning new things, enjoy learning new concepts. And you'll get to where you want to get to if you just stick with it and take it serious.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. It's nice to talk to somebody with more of a creative career path,
Yeah,
because we always think that we have to do like these standard things. Like I became a teacher, but now that I'm older, I'm like, there's so many other cool things out there, other paths I could have taken. So yeah, it's just nice to talk to somebody who has more of a creative path. So I appreciate it.
absolutely. I appreciate you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to Still Browsing. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone. And if you have a cool job story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to be a guest. See you next time.